Well, we're here in mid-April now, and I've been busy over winter with my longest experiment yet, looking at whether the filter dies off in winter, and if so, by how much. And also I've been looking at if there's anything you can do about it. So my findings are quite surprising. I'll tell you up front so you can look at what I did, and if you're interested afterwards. So there are two different types of bacteria. The nitrosomonas ones, which convert the ammonia to nitrite, they're not really affected by winter at all. The bacterial count is the same as it was in the summer, just the rate at which they can be active is slightly lower in the colder temperatures. But the nitrobacter bacteria that convert nitrite to nitrate are massively reduced in number over winter. And so not only do they work slower in spring because of the lower temperatures, there's also much fewer of them around to do the work. And that means you have to be really careful how much you feed the fish. And you may not be able to feed them as much as they want to eat without causing a problem for your water quality. The sorts of levels we're talking about is that the number of nitrobacters are reduced to about 20% of what they would be in summer. So 80% of them are killed off, and this is pretty significant. And I've done various tests during October, December, and March, and it was really in that period of January and February where they all died off. So I think it's the low temperatures that's causing the drop in numbers rather than the low levels of ammonia. So I was going to try some strategies to see how I could deal with this filter dying off over the winter issue. So what I've got here, this is my quarantine tank. It's got about 400 litres, and I've got a superfish filter there which I've packed full of K3, and I've also put some K3 in here. There's also some pumice there at the bottom, and some other plastic media that's just lying around. And so what I'm going to do here is add ammonia on a weekly basis, equivalent to about 50 grams of food, which is about 2/3 of what I feed the fish in a given day. So this is a massively lower amount of ammonia than you would actually get in the summer when feeding, but of course the temperature is going to be very, very low. This is just trying to simulate a continual stream of food for the bacteria, see if we can keep them alive over the winter, or if they are kept alive normally anyway, just to actually see if we can keep their numbers up. So I've got some ammonia here that I've put into a jug, and I'm going to do this every week and see if that has any impact. Right, so it's now mid-March. I've been doing this experiment several times. I did it in October and I've done it in December. But I'm showing you the last set of experiments because this is the most interesting, and I captured the results from the chart a bit later. But what I'm doing here is I'm doing my standard test where I've got 2 bits of K3 matured from the pond in test 1, and from my quarantine system, which has got where I've been feeding ammonia throughout the autumn and winter. And then I've got this more elaborate system where I've got a water bath heated to 18.5 degrees, and I've got the same 2 tests again, one from the pond and the last one from the quarantine tank that's been fed with ammonia. So having the benefit of the temperature being sustained at 18.5 degrees means I can compare the results with the other experiments that I've done throughout the winter, and also the level of the summer, because it was about 18 degrees when I did those tests. And I'm going to see how we get on. There's 2 milligrams of ammonia in there, there's no nitrite, and see how long it takes for the bacteria to convert that all the way through to nitrate, which we'll see over the coming days. So it's mid-April now, and we're at the end of this last test. So looking at the results, if we focus on the 18 degrees to start with, 3 days in, all the ammonia has been removed from both of the examples, the pond and the test that's had the ammonia fed. And then it's taken 17 days to remove all of the nitrite for the test, and it's taken 22 days to remove it for the pond, so a significant delay there. I haven't captured all of the daily tests here. I did them, but where it hadn't removed, or where we hadn't reached the milestone, I then reused the test tubes because I've only got a limited number. Then in terms of the ambient temperature, which is about 10 degrees for this example, It's taken about 27 days for the pond to remove the nitrite, and it's taken actually slightly longer than 27 days for the test, which is slightly strange, but it might be something to do with being a small sample, only 2 pieces of filter media might be slightly different. But that shows that it takes an awful lot longer to process nitrite this time of year with the bacterial count we have at the start of spring compared to what we had late summer. So what I've done here is I've put on a chart the results of all the experiments that did throughout the summer, autumn and winter, and you can see that the level of the conversion rate of the bacteria drops off massively between December and March when we get those really low temperatures. And actually in October and December the levels were maintained at the summer levels for the quarantine arrangement where I was feeding the ammonia. So if you kept the levels of the temperature up around sort of 8 to 10 degrees, it would probably be fine throughout the winter. But of course we had a very cold snap, which took them out. Alongside doing the tests at 18 degrees, I also ran them at ambient temperature, which captures the changing bacterial count and also that they operate slower when it's colder. So this shows the absolute reduction in their performance, and you can see there's a considerable reduction in both the ammonia conversion and the nitrite conversion at the lower temperature in spring. So this isn't really a problem in itself, because the fish eat less in spring because of the low temperatures as well. And I think broadly speaking the amount that they eat and the rate of the bacterial activity is quite similar. So we just need to watch out for the nitrite level because the bacterial population has been reduced so much. Now, for me, unlike in previous years, I found that my nitrite levels haven't risen at all in spring. And what I've worked out is I'm in my 4th year now of this pond, and I think every year the bacteria grow to greater numbers, which means that it becomes a point where even if you knock them back by 80%, there's still enough to handle the amount of food the fish are eating. So I've illustrated it on this graph, and I think that's why the length of time that a pond takes to mature is so much longer than, say, a tropical fish tank in a house, because not only is it colder temperatures and the fish eat more, also you've got the winter that comes along and takes out most of your filter every year, and it's got to start and build up again. So if you look at it in this way, it's easy to see how having a pond that's been around for several years is much more robust than one that's perhaps only a year or 2 old. So what are the key conclusions? Well, if you've got a pond that's less mature, so under 3 years old, nitrite is what you need to watch out for. You probably need to feed the fish less than they want to eat in spring. Once summer gets underway, you'll be able to crank that up. Ponds that are older than 3 years old, nitrite isn't a problem. You still may have a problem with ammonia if you have fluctuating temperatures, because the fish might eat a lot because the temperature's gone up, and then it drops down by 5 degrees over a matter of a few days, and the fish are excreting all that ammonia, but the bacteria have slowed right down again. So you need to still watch out for that. So the best answer is to test your water for ammonia and nitrite. Then you can feed as much as you can as they want to eat, and if it does start to cause water quality issues, you can trim it back, and that means that the fish can eat as much as they can, and you can be confident that they're not going to be unhealthy because of the water quality. That's it for today. I hope that's been interesting. It's certainly been a journey for me, and I'll see you on the next video.